Hey guys, this is EdRoh. Today, I'm going to do a very quick explanation of what Redux Toolkit is, along with Saga, and we are going to use those to build this cat species gallery application. So Redux Toolkit is a neat, easy to use library that allows you to basically use Redux without all the painful setup parts. As I've said in this other videos, I highly recommend this library instead of just plain Redux. If you're interested in learning more, you can watch this video. Redux Saga, on the other hand, is a library used for asynchronous operations similar to Redux Thunk. In comparison, it is the more heavy-duty library in comparison to Thunk, but also has a slightly steeper learning curve. You can check out the link in the description if you want to go to this website and learn more. Anyways, let's get started building our app. So I'm here in my code editor, and I'm going to bring up the terminal by pressing Control I, and I am going to install create React app with this command. And we are going to call it Toolkit Saga app. All right, and then once I'm finished, I'm going to go into the folder we have just created, and I'm going to open that up in a separate window. And I am going to bring up the terminal again, and this time I'm going to install, we're going to install at Redux.js/toolkit, and then we're going to install React, Redux, and Redux Saga, like so. Once that's done, I'm going to go into our folder structure right here, and we're going to delete a few things. We're going to delete app.test.js, we're going to delete logo, we're going to delete web vitals, and we're going to delete setup tests. We're going to go to index.js, we're going to remove the report web vitals, we're going to remove this code as well, and we're going to go into app.js and remove the logo and also the header information, like so. I'm going to save both of those. All right, from there, since this is not a CSS course, we're going to go to a link. It's in the description below, but this is my GitHub repo that I've created for this particular project. And we're going to go into app CSS, and we're just going to copy this entire thing because this is the CSS necessary for this application. And I have it already set up because CSS takes a lot of time, but this video is more about React and the functionality. So we're going to go into app CSS, and then I replaced everything with the CSS code, and I am going to save it. Now we can start coding our app. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to import a few things, and we are going to import provider from React Redux, and then we're going to import create Saga middleware from Redux Saga, and then we're going to import configure store from at Redux.js toolkit. And once we're done with that, we can set up a few things for our Saga. So the Saga, we can create Saga middleware, execute that function, and then we're going to create the store with configure store like so. Reducer, we're going to create an object over there, and we're going to add a middleware in brackets with Saga. And we're going to change React strict mode with provider. And we are going to provide it with a store attribute. Close store. All right, so this, oops, I kind of messed this up. So configure store, not configure. So there's a bit of a setup here, but this is all the setup you would really need for a Saga. So this is way simpler than what you would do in typical Redux. And then what we're going to do is go into our directory and we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call that cat state.js. So this is going to have all our state information. And what we're going to do here is we're going to first import create slice. And it's going to be from @Redux.js toolkit. So this will allow us to create our simplified reducers from Redux Toolkit. And we're going to do export const state slice. We're going to, or no, not state slice. We're going to call it cat slice. And we're going to do create slice like so. And within create slice, this will be where all our information will be. And we're going to first have to set a name. So this is the name of the reducer, and we're going to call this cats. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to create an initial state. And this is going to have two states that we're going to tack into here, which is going to be cats, which will be an empty array, and is loading is going to be false. So cats is going to store all the cats we retrieve from an API, and is loading is going to be as the state of when the cats are still retrieving from the API. And finally, we're going to add the reducer section. And in here, we're going to have the actual logic, just like our cases in normal Redux. We're going to have our own cases over here, but it is written differently. We just need to write the name of the action or the case like so. And we're going to call it get cats fetch. And we're going to have an array, not an array, a function, and it's going to pass in a value of state, and state.isLoading is going to be true, like so. So when we fetch the cats, we are going to set the isLoading state to true. And again, for Redux Toolkit, since it has a library inside called Imer, we can modify state directly. Even though under the hood, it won't be modifying the state directly. It will be replacing the entire state like you normally should. But the convenience of the library allows us to just directly or write it as we're directly modifying the state. The next thing we're going to add is get cats success. And we're going to give this two arguments. It's going to be state and then action. And here we're going to change state.cats is equal to action.payload. So, and then we're going to pass in state is loading is equal to false. So this will essentially, from our action object, we're going to grab the payload, which is going to be the result of the cats from the API. Finally, we're going to handle get cats failure. We're not really going to use this one, but just to show you how you would normally make an API call and handle the error, we are going to set this is loading equals to false. All right. And again, the beauty of Redux Toolkit is that you don't have to write the action logic you would normally have to do with all the types and things of that nature. We can just write the actions that we wrote like so. And we can just say cat state dot actions, and this will provide all the actions that we can use. So we can just grab these guys in other files and use them as we would typically do with normal Redux. And then finally, we're going to export default cat state or cat slice, sorry. And we're going to call the reducer property from that. So this will allow us to grab the reducer. So we're going to save that file and we're going to go back to index.js And we are going to import a couple more, or one more thing, which is cats reducer from the state that we found, which is cat state. And we are going to pass that in over here into a property called cats. And then cats reducer will be the value. So this will allow us to call this reducer with cats. Once we're done with that, we can actually create our Saga logic, and we can go into our directory, create a new file, and call cat Saga. And in here, we can write our Saga logic like we would normally do with Redux. So using Saga with Toolkit is not very much different with Saga and vanilla Redux. There's one thing that's different, but I'll get to it when we get there. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to import call, put, and take every from Redux Saga effects. So these things, call would allow us to call our URLs and APIs. Put will allow us to call our actions, and take every is going to be able to watch a function or watch in action and trigger our function whenever that action is being called. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually create the Watcher Saga, which we are going to call this cat Saga. And we are going to yield. So these are generator function terminology, but yield is essentially, you can think of it as similar to async await, where you're waiting. It's not exactly how it works under the hood, but it's a very close enough comparison here. All right, so this is the one thing that's different with Toolkit versus normal Redux and Saga. So basically, this action type, since all the actions over here are implicitly being created by Toolkit, we need to know what type of action type this would be. In normal Redux, you would typically name it as, for example, you would name it getCatsFetch as a capitalized version like so. However, that's not written in Redux Toolkit. What we have to do is first take the name of the reducer and then the name of the action itself without being capitalized. So if you take a look, this cat refers to this name, and then getCatsFetch refers to just the name of the case that we've created. So by default, that's the setup that you're going to have to go for. It's very simple. And then from there, we're going to create a function called workGetCatsFetch. We haven't created the function, so we will do that now. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to create another generator function, and we're going to create that function we just used. And inside here, we're going to create a value called cats. And in here, we are going to call an API. We're going to create a function that will fetch a particular API. So that API that I'm using is something I found where you can just call a list that will give us a list of the cat breeds. So you can just copy this over. We're going to call it API.theCatsAPI, the cat API, like so, /v1/breeds. So this will give us a list of the breeds. You can check out their API on this website, but this is pretty much a direct URL that we can call to grab those breeds. And the next line, we're going to get formatted cats. And here we're just going to JSON the format that we've gotten. We have to wait for this to finish. So that's why we're having yield for each of these. These are both asynchronous operations. So we need to wait for them to finish before we move on to the next line. And then finally, what I'm going to do is if you grab this API it's going to give you a list of probably like hundreds of these, but we don't need all 100. So we're just going to slice the first 10 of these. So we can only we only need 10 of them to basically do what we need. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're going to yield and call our getCat success function or success action. So we're going to import that first. And we're going to grab it from our state, cat state, like so. And we are going to call that action. And we're going to put our formatted cats like so. So essentially, we're going to grab getCat's fetch. We'll call this worker function. And it's going to do all the formatting. And when we finally get the cats ready, we're going to pass it in getCat's success. And then here, if you know, getCat success, as you can see, we have our action. If you pass it in here, you can grab that action as the payload. So the cats that we've created will be directly placed into here once it succeeds. Okay, and then the final thing we need to do for our Saga is to export our cat Saga watcher function. And then with that, we need to go to our index.js one last time, and we are going to import cat Saga from our cat Saga file. And we need to run our Saga like so with our cat Saga. So that's been a mouthful with cat Saga, cat state, quite a few things. Saga has a bit of a boilerplate that you would have to set up, but it's worth it in a bigger application. It'll be very convenient and very organized for you to watch the flow, and you'll be able to control it with a lot of functionality. All right, and so the last thing that we need to do is go to our app.js file. And in here, we're going to do all the setup to write our HTML, our styling, as well as the actual functionality. Okay, so first off, I'm going to import a few things. I'm going to import useEffect from React. So this will allow us to put our API call in there. And then we're going to call useSelector and use dispatch from React Redux. And then we're going to import getCat's fetch. So this is the only API that we need to really call, or only action that we need to call. And we are going to grab that from cat state. And from here, we can create a variable called cats, and this will grab our cats array that we've created from our state. So we're going to use useSelector. We're going to have a function with state, and we're going to call our cats. So this is a little confusing. State.cats. Basically, due to my naming, I'm calling this reducer cats, and within this reducer, I'm calling the cats property. So that's why this is cats. So we're essentially grabbing this guy. Because the reducer is called cats, then we have a duplicate of the name. The next thing, going to be dispatch, use dispatch, execute that function. So this will allow us to call our actions. And useEffect. Here, we're going to be dispatching our getCat's fetch action. So this will actually call our API, and we want to make sure that this has dispatch as a dependency. So essentially, we're actually going to console log our cats to make sure that this is running. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm actually going to bring up my terminal. I'm going to run this. When I run it, I'm getting an error actually. So cat state is not defined. So if I go to that, I made a mistake over here. So this is not cat state, my mistake. So this should be cat slice dot actions. So once we have that, we have this set up. You can refresh that and bring up our console. And as you can see, you can ignore these errors for now. We have a list of our cats. There's a lot of information in here. The only things we really need is description, the name, and the image. But as you can see, we have our list of cats. Once we have that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this over here so we have it side by side because it's lagging a little bit. Okay, so right now we have nothing. So we're going to go to our app.js. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a few structure things, just h1 tag. And we're going to call this cat species gallery. And we're going to add a paragraph tag, images of different species of cats, lots of cats for your viewing pleasure. Save that, and you can see we already started writing it. We have our styling already there, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm going to add a horizontal tag, and then we're going to go and we're going to create a div, and we're going to pass it a class name of gallery. And in here, we're going to actually call our cats values that we have with cats map. And in here, we're going to add a lot of different things. We need a few different things because of the CSS and the structure that we need to set it up. So we're first going to create a container div, and we're going to give this a key of cat ID so we don't trigger the React warning that every div in a list needs to be unique. And we're going to give this a class name of row. I'm going to close that. So this is the container for each cat. And we're going to split this up into two divs. And this is going to be splitting it between two sections with the left and the right side. The left side will have an image. The right side will have all the text. So class name here is going to be column, and I'm also going to add a column left to identify this specific one. And we're going to copy this, and we're going to have the same thing over here, except this will be column right. Okay, so in our left side, all we're going to do is going to have an image. And inside this image, we need to add a few things. And this one's going to be alt, and that's going to be the cat name. So this is more for readers, like online readers. And then we're going to have a source cat image.url. So this will be the link that's in the cat's object. And we're going to set this width of 200. Same with the height of 200. We save that. Oh, cat is not defined. Oh, I see. So I need to write cat. Yeah, I forgot that. Don't. Yeah, that's important. All right. And as you can see, we already have the left side with our cat image. So if you open it up, description and all that information will be wider. And then from here, I'm going to do the right side now. And the right side, it's just going to have an h2 tag with cat.name, like so. And then we're going to do h5 tag, and we're going to give it a temperament. Like that. So this is all within our cats object. All this information is already there from the API call we made. And then finally, if we're going to have a paragraph tag with cat description. Once we do that, we're going to have all the information that's needed for each cat. I know it's not perfectly aligned, but I will save that and you can try getting that CSS on your own. And then once we're done with that, we're going to just create a button at the bottom, view more cats. It won't really do anything. It's just more if you want to create a website and you want to list the rest of the cats. And that's pretty much it. If you take a look, you have this entire guy. Let's enter full screen. And we have our cats like so. List of cats, pretty simple. Saga and Toolkit work together beautifully. And that was Redux Toolkit with Redux Saga. As you can see, Redux Saga works like it normally would in vanilla Redux. Toolkit and Saga is very close to the original, and you will have no issues handling tricky or complex asynchronous action operations and their calls. Personally, I use Saga over Thunk in a bigger application, but they are both very good options. If you want, you can watch the Thunk video here. Anyways, comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.